The war was over. Or so they said. Smoke still rose from the ground. Fires burned quietly under the gray sky. Dead bodies, human and alien, lay everywhere across the ruined field. Sergeant Daniel Reeves stepped carefully over cracked metal and broken helmets. His boots crunched on shattered glass. He held his rifle tightly, even though there was no one left to fight. Or so he thought. Then he heard it, a sound soft, like a cough. Or a cry. He froze. Daniel looked around the wreckage. It was silent again. But then there it was. A weak voice. Close. He turned quickly, aiming his rifle. Something moved near the wreck of a fallen alien war machine. A shadow shifted behind broken panels. A hand reached out, clawed, armored, shaking. Daniel stepped forward. Slowly. Carefully, he moved closer. Then she appeared. An alien. A female. A warrior. Her armor was broken, half melted. Purple blood ran down her arm. Her breathing was hard and shallow. Her long dark hair was stuck to her face. She looked strong once, but now she was barely holding herself up. She saw him and froze. Daniel raised his weapon. Don't move, he said. She didn't single quotes d. Instead, she dropped her blade. And then she did something he didn't expect. She fell to her knees, her head bowed low, her arms at her sides. And in a weak, broken voice, she said, "Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed." Daniel blinked. What? He thought he misheard her. Repeat that, he said, voice low. She looked up, eyes glowing faintly under her helmet's cracked visor. Her lips trembled. Her voice was clearer now, but still soft. "Please, I have nothing left. I'll do anything. Just don't kill me." He lowered his weapon slightly. This was a trap. It had to be. Alien warriors were known to fight to the death. They didn't beg. They didn't kneel. And they never surrendered. But she had. Her body was shaking. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Her armor was burned into her skin in some places. Daniel stepped closer. "Why say that?" he asked. "That line. Why those words?" She looked away. Her voice cracked. "Because I know what happens to losers in war. If you won't kill me, then at least use me. That's how it works, doesn't it?" Daniel didn't answer. He looked at her again, really looked. She wasn't trying to reach for a weapon. She wasn't faking her injuries. Her leg was clearly broken, twisted, at a strange angle. She truly couldn't fight back. She really thought he would use her. Or kill her. And still she begged to stay alive. Something inside Daniel twisted. This wasn't what he signed up for. He had fought monsters. But this was a broken person. A soldier who had lost everything. "I'm not going to hurt you," Daniel finally said. She didn't respond. It was like she didn't believe him. He moved closer, slowly, showing her he meant no harm. He knelt down beside her and looked into her alien eyes. She flinched slightly, but didn't run. He pulled out a small med pack from his bag and offered it. "You're bleeding," he said. "Let me help." She stared at the pack like it was a trick. Then her body collapsed forward. Daniel caught her just before she hit the ground. She had passed out. He could have left her there. No one would have blamed him. She was the enemy. A dangerous warrior. Her people had killed thousands. But still, he lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. She felt cold. Too cold. He looked around. The outpost nearby was half destroyed, but maybe it had a roof. Maybe shelter. He carried her there in silence. The last words she had whispered still echoed in his mind. "Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed." He didn't know who she really was. He didn't know why she was left behind. He didn't even know her name. But somehow, Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The war may have ended. But this story had just started. Her blood was still warm on his hands. Daniel didn't understand why he hadn't left her behind. The war was over. She was the enemy. And she had offered herself like a broken gift, whispering strange words no soldier should ever say. "I'll warm your bed. That sentence haunted him. He stared at her unconscious face. Dirt, blood, and dried tears covered her skin. Her breathing was weak. Her leg was clearly broken, and her left shoulder was burned raw under the cracked armor. She should have been dead. Instead, she was now in his arms, heavy with pain, but not fighting anymore. The outpost was close, an old human bunker half destroyed by an orbital blast, roof broken, walls cracked. But it still had 4 standing corners and 1 working door. Daniel kicked it open. Dust filled the air. He gently placed the alien warrior on an old bench and stepped back, watching her closely. His weapon stayed in hand, just in case this was still a trap, but she didn't move. She just laid there, like something forgotten by the universe. Daniel opened a medkit and pulled out the emergency scanner. He passed it over her body. The readings were bad, too much blood loss, internal bleeding, fractures, infection starting. She needed real help, but no hospitals would accept an alien soldier, not after what her people had done. He sighed. Why am I doing this? He asked himself. He thought about her voice again, the way it cracked when she spoke, the way her eyes looked empty, like she had nothing left. And how she didn't beg for victory. She begged for mercy. Hours passed. Daniel cleaned her wounds. He removed broken armor plates. He used what little medicine he had to reduce her fever. He even found a heat pad and placed it near her body. She woke up once, just for a second. Her voice was dry and weak. "You didn't kill me." Daniel looked at her. "No. Why?" He paused, then answered simply, "I don't hurt people who've already lost." She closed her eyes again. This time, there was no fear in her face, only sleep. Later, Daniel sat near the door, gun in his lap. Night had fallen. Outside, the world was silent, the kind of silence that only came after a war. He looked over at her again. The firelight from a small heater flickered across her face. Without the armor, without the glowing visor, she didn't look like a warrior anymore. She looked human. Not in form. No, her features were still alien. Pointed ears, purple-tinted skin, long silver markings down her neck, but something in her expression, soft now, reminded him of every wounded soldier he had ever seen. Alone, broken, left behind. Suddenly, her body shifted. She was dreaming. Mumbling in her sleep. Daniel stood and walked closer. Then he heard it. She was whispering in her alien tongue. But one word came out clearly: human. He froze. She said it like it was a prayer, or a promise. In that moment, Daniel realized something. This wasn't just a defeated enemy. This was someone her own people had discarded. A weapon they had used and left to die. Maybe she didn't kneel because she feared death. Maybe she knelt because for the first time, she hoped someone might not treat her like trash. He looked down at her one last time that night and whispered, "I should have walked away, but I won't." She woke up screaming. It wasn't loud, it was strangled, like she was choking on fear. Her eyes flew open, wild and glowing, and her hands clawed at the air. Daniel dropped his food packet and rushed to her side. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe now." But she didn't hear him. Her body trembled like she was still on the battlefield, like something worse than death was chasing her in her dreams. He reached out and gently touched her shoulder. She flinched so hard, she almost fell off the bench. Her breath came fast and sharp. Her fists curled. Her teeth showed like she was ready to bite. But then, she saw him. And froze. Daniel didn't move. His hand still hovered in the air, inches from her. She stared at him, eyes wide, heart racing. He lowered his voice. "You were dreaming," he said. Her voice was just a whisper. "I thought you were them." Daniel sat down slowly beside her. "Who?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Instead, She pulled the old blanket tighter around her chest and looked away. Her voice was quiet, flat, like she was forcing herself to speak. My own squad. Daniel frowned. They did this to you? She nodded once. They said I failed, that I let humans live when I had the chance. They beat me, burned me, left me behind to die. I was their weapon. No use anymore. Daniel felt cold inside. This wasn't just a soldier. This was a prisoner of her own kind. He pulled out some water and gently handed it to her. She looked at it suspiciously. It's not poisoned, he said with a small smile. She took it slowly and drank. After a few seconds, she asked, "Why are you being kind to me?" Daniel thought about it, then shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe because I've seen what war does to people. Human or alien, it breaks the good ones, leaves the cruel ones in charge." She didn't smile, but her hands stopped shaking. That was something. He moved to check her bandages. "I need to look at your side," he said. She hesitated. "Just the wounds," he added quickly. "Nothing else," she nodded. Barely. As he lifted the blanket and touched her skin gently, she didn't flinch this time, but her voice came low. "You're different, human." He raised an eyebrow. "Different good or different bad?" She looked into his eyes, and this time there was no fear in her face, just a quiet sadness. "Different, kind." Daniel finished wrapping the new bandage and stood up. He looked down at her, still unsure what to call her. "I never asked your name," he said. She stared at him for a long moment. "I don't have one." "What do you mean?" "My people don't name weapons," she said simply. "Just serial numbers." Daniel paused. "Then I'll give you one." Her eyes widened slightly. He thought for a moment, then smiled softly. "Kalira," he said. "It means a live flame in Old Earth tongue." She repeated it under her breath, like it was a secret. Kalira. That night, she didn't cry in her sleep, and when he placed the heat pad near her again, she didn't flinch. She even looked at him with something almost like trust. The woman who once knelt and begged to be used was now becoming something else. Not a weapon, not a slave. Just someone who was finally being seen. Asterisk. It started with a low hum in the distance. Daniel froze. He had heard that sound before. Patrol drones. Silent hunters scanning for survivors, cleaning up the mess after war. But they never came alone. He stepped to the bunker window and peered out. The sky above the ruined city turned darker as two alien ships hovered low, engines glowing red beneath their wings. His heart dropped. They had found her. Behind him, Kalira sat up slowly, her wounds still healing. But even in pain, her senses were sharp. "They're here," she whispered. Daniel turned to her. "You knew this might happen?" She nodded. "They always come back, not to rescue, to erase mistakes." "You're not a mistake," Daniel said. She gave him a sad smile. "To them, I am." Outside, shadows moved between the rubble. Tall alien soldiers, armor clean and polished, unlike hers. Their movements were practiced. Cold. One of them held a scanning device. Another held a plasma rifle. They were not here to ask questions. Daniel grabbed his gear and moved quickly. "You need to hide," he said. Kalira tried to stand but stumbled. Her leg wasn't strong yet. "I can't run." "You won't need to," he said. He opened a loose metal panel in the floor and pointed. "Get in." She looked at him, eyes uncertain. "You could hand me over," she whispered. "Let them take me. No one would blame you." He knelt beside her. "I would blame me." She stared at him for a long second, then crawled into the hidden space, her breathing shallow. Daniel placed an old tarpaulin crate over the hatch. She was gone from sight, but not from his thoughts. The knock came minutes later, a sharp, echoing sound on the metal door. Daniel opened it slowly. 3 alien soldiers stood outside. Tall, armed, and silent. The one in front stepped forward. "We are looking for a fugitive," he said. A traitor. Daniel crossed his arms. Not much here but rats and memories. The soldier scanned the room with glowing eyes. She's dangerous. She carries military secrets. If she is here, you will give her to us. Daniel's voice was calm, but cold. Even if she was here, I wouldn't give her to people who leave. Their own wounded to die. The soldier's jaw tightened. You're interfering in matters beyond you, human. Daniel stepped closer, face inches from the taller alien. No, I'm doing what your kind forgot how to do, showing mercy. For a second, no one moved. Then the soldier gave a small nod. Two others pushed past Daniel and entered the bunker. They checked every corner, kicked every crate, scanned the walls. Daniel's pulse beat loud in his ears. One alien stepped near the floor hatch. He paused, looked down. His foot tapped the metal. Daniel's hand reached toward his rifle, but just before the alien bent down, the lead soldier spoke. Leave it. The two stopped. They walked out. Silent again. The leader turned once more to Daniel. If we find out you lied, human, we'll come back. And next time we won't knock. Daniel stared him down. I'll be waiting. Once they were gone and the ships faded into the sky, Daniel returned inside and pulled away the tarp. Kalira's eyes looked up at him. You protected me. He nodded. You trusted me first. She pulled herself up, trembling but alive. I wasn't ready to fight, she whispered. Daniel looked at her, voice steady. You don't have to fight. She looked down at her hands. No, she said. But next time, I will. Asterisk the first time she stood without falling. It wasn't for herself. It was for him. Kalira's body still hurt with every movement. Her bones hadn't fully healed, and her skin was marked with old burns and bruises. But that morning, when she saw Daniel's blood on the floor, her body moved on instinct. He had been gone only 15 minutes. He left to find food, but when he came back, he was limping, holding his ribs, his face cut. What happened? She asked, her voice sharper than before. Daniel dropped the pack near the door and sat down. Wincing, ran into mercs, he said. 3 of them. Didn't like that a human was helping. An alien. She stared at his injury. Something inside her burned. Not fear, not shame, anger. I'll kill them, she said quietly. Daniel gave a tired smile. You can barely walk. She didn't smile back. I'll train. Starting now. From that day, everything changed. Daniel caught her dragging herself across the floor, one hand on the wall, the other gripping a broken pole like a weapon. She fell. Over and over, but she got up. Every time. Days passed. She sharpened metal scraps into blades. She built traps from spare wires. She practiced breathing through pain. Daniel tried to stop her once. You need rest, he said. She looked him in the eyes. I've rested enough. You saved me. Now let me fight for you. One evening, Daniel heard something outside movement. Near the bunker. He grabbed his rifle and opened the door. A shadow ran toward him, fast. Then stopped. Kalira stood there, holding a stunned lizard creature in her hands. She tossed it on the table. Dinner, she said. He raised an eyebrow. You hunted that? She nodded. With a spear. Daniel blinked. We don't even have a spear. I made one. That night, as the fire crackled, Kalira sat beside him, not curled up like before, not hiding under a blanket. She sat. Tall, like a warrior again, but different now, stronger, calmer, warmer. Daniel looked at her and asked, Why are you really doing this? She turned to him, serious. I was trained to fight for commanders who saw me as a thing. I was punished for thinking, for failing, for caring. She paused. But you cared first. Daniel didn't speak. He didn't need to, she added. Softly, now my fight is yours. Later that night, they sat in silence. But it wasn't empty anymore. The quiet was full of something powerful. Something growing between them, like trust turning into something deeper. Not love. Not yet. But Something real. The next morning, when the mercs returned, Kalira was ready, and this time she stood in front of Daniel. The first time she stood without falling. It wasn't for herself. It was for him. Kalira's body still hurt with every movement. Her bones hadn't fully healed, and her skin was marked with old burns and bruises. But that morning, when she saw Daniel's blood on the floor, her body moved on instinct. He'd have been gone only 15 minutes. He left to find food. But when he came back, he was limping, holding his ribs, his face cut. "What happened?" she asked, her voice sharper than before. Daniel dropped the pack near the door and sat down. Wincing, "Ran into mercs," he said. 3 of them. Didn't like that a human was helping. An alien. She stared at his injury. Something inside her burned. Not fear, not shame, anger. "I'll kill them," she said quietly. Daniel gave a tired smile. "You can barely walk." She didn't smile back. "I'll train. Starting now." From that day, everything changed. Daniel caught her dragging herself across the floor, one hand on the wall, the other gripping a broken pole like a weapon. She fell over and over, but she got up. Every time. Days passed. She sharpened metal scraps into blades. She built traps from spare wires. She practiced breathing through pain. Daniel tried to stop her once. "You need rest," he said. She looked him in the eyes. "I've rested enough. You saved me. Now let me fight for you." One evening, Daniel heard something outside movement. Near the bunker. He grabbed his rifle and opened the door. A shadow ran toward him, fast. Then stopped. Kalira stood there, holding a stunned lizard creature in her hands. She tossed it on the table. "Dinner," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "You hunted that?" She nodded. "With a spear?" Daniel blinked. "We don't even have a spear. I made one." That night, as the fire crackled, Kalira sat beside him, not curled up like before, not hiding under a blanket. She sat, tall, like a warrior again, but different now, stronger, calmer, warmer. Daniel looked at her and asked, "Why are you really doing this?" She turned to him, serious. "I was trained to fight for commanders who saw me as a thing. I was punished for thinking, for failing, for caring." She paused. "But you cared first." Daniel didn't speak. "He didn't need to," she added, softly. "Now my fight is yours." Later that night, they sat in silence, but it wasn't empty anymore. The quiet was full of something powerful. Something growing between them, like trust turning into something deeper. Not love. Not yet, but something real. The next morning, when the mercs returned, Kalira was ready. And this time, she stood in front of Daniel. She had never killed to protect someone before. Not until now. Kalira stood over the last mercenary's body, her chest rising and falling slowly. The blade in her hand was covered in ash and blood. Her arm shook, not from weakness, but from the storm inside her. Behind her, Daniel stared in silence. He had seen many battles, but nothing like this. Not like her. Not for him. Minutes earlier, the mercenaries stormed the bunker, shouting, laughing, calling Kalira the pet, the traitor, the human's toy. They didn't get to finish their words. She struck like lightning quick, silent, precise. Daniel barely fired a single shot. When it was over, Kalira walked toward him, her legs steady, her voice low. "Now you're safe." They buried the bodies together in the ash outside. No words were said. No anger, just quiet. Afterward, Kalira washed her hands in the stream behind the bunker. Her reflection in the water showed someone she didn't recognize. No longer the weapon. No longer the weak. Just herself. That night, Daniel made a fire and handed her a warm drink. Kalira sat across from him, eyes glowing faintly in the soft light. There was peace in her shoulders now, and silence between them, but this time it was full, not heavy, not awkward. Just real. Then she said it. Soft, honest, straight from the heart. "I still remember the first thing I said to you." Daniel smiled, sipping his drink. Don't kill me. I'll warm your bed. Kalira nodded, her face turning slightly red. I thought that's all I had to offer. I thought that's what I was worth. Daniel leaned forward, eyes serious. You were wrong. She looked at him really. Look. All the moments came back. The pain, the healing, the hiding, the trust. And finally, the fight. She spoke again, voice quiet but firm. I offered to warm your bed, but you warmed my heart. He reached out, slowly. She didn't flinch. This time she leaned in. Their hands touched first, then foreheads. A soft connection. Nothing rushed. Just two souls who survived. Something terrible. And found something beautiful in the ashes. The war had taken everything from them. But in each other, they found more than survival. They found home.